Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast. I'm your host, Wesley, and of course, I'm joined by my lovely co-host,
Mary.
Mary, did you know some people didn't know you're my wife?
What?
I know. Some people last week were like, who the heck is Mary? I can't tell if they're joking about Micronesia because there's a woman in Micronesia named Mary.
Right. I've heard that joke before.
Which you have not seen yet, but I guess when you watch it, you'll feel very personally attacked. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you're my wife. So this week, we don't have Emily. She was with us last week. It was fun. Mm-hmm. A little awkward because we only had 2 mics for 3 people. So if it seemed like there's any awkwardness, that's what it was. Like people switching mics, but
right. No, it's usually me like, do you want the mic?
Yeah, it's usually just me.
Like these silent cues we're trying to do.
Like, okay, I'm like doing like airplane, like we're on the landing strip. I'm like, okay, you go. Okay, yeah. Nobody can see me. I'm like doing like the landing strip signals. But yeah, so we might have Emily on with her own microphone for the last, for the finale at least.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
We're figuring it out. We'll talk about it because finale, I'm sure there'll be lots to talk about. So yeah, this week we are discussing a episode with 2 boots, and as usual, let me tell you what to expect. We're gonna do the episode breakdown. We're gonna dedicate a part of our episode breakdown to Shan's extra vote and was he used it correctly, because there's been a lot of discussion I've noticed on online, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, all those places that I've briefly perused. People are talking about it. We'll discuss whether it was the right move or not, and of course we'll talk about Heather's purple edit, TV ratings, Rebus puzzle, winner analysis, your questions, maybe not necessarily in that order I just said them, but there are chapter markers on the video, so just check those out as you see fit, as you want to listen to them. So yeah, let's break this down. Let's get right into this episode breakdown. And Mary, I had actually a fun note before we got deep into this breakdown.
Okay.
Do you know how this season there's been a bunch of summits? Mm-hmm. And we go to the summit and it's like a whole thing, and they're up there and they're like, wow, it's beautiful up here.
Right.
Well, I'm working on the Winners at War secrets video. Mm-hmm. And in one of the secret scenes, back when everybody's when they're split up into their original tribes in the pre-merge, DeCall takes a hike up their hill at their camp. They go up to the top and they basically do the same thing as the summit in terms of like the shots and the view and everything of Fiji. And it's like, this wasn't in the show proper, but I'm like, I wonder if this was inspiration to do the summits where they do them, because summits in and of themselves have existed in Survivor since like season 4.
Right.
Actually, season 1, technically, when they did the merge, they did a summit to decide what camp we're going to be at and stuff like that. So it's not a new concept, but the concept of being on top of a hill and looking at all of Fiji, I feel like is new. And if you guys look at this, I don't have what episode it's from, but it's one of the secret scenes where it's called like secret scene DeCall takes a hike. You look up on YouTube, you can find it. And yeah, they basically do exactly what the summit is, and I feel like maybe that was the inspiration.
So are you saying that this mountain is the same mountain, or you just think the idea came from
I don't
them
think
this?
It's the same place.
Okay.
It's hard to tell from the secret scene shots, because the ones we see in Survivor 41, how like clearly they like plan this out and they have like drone shots or helicopter shots, whatever they are, of the whole mountain. Whereas this one was kind of like, oh, we're doing this, and the cameramen were trying to get it, but it wasn't like with drones and stuff,
right.
Yeah. So if you just take a look at it, and I want to know, comment below if you guys watch a secret scene, like, do you guys think it's maybe the same place? Do you think it's inspiration? Because I did think it was interesting. In the secret scene, you can literally see from DeCall's camp, and maybe it's not the same location, because from DeCall's camp, you can see the edge of extinction off the distance, and I don't think we can see that in any Survivor 41's summit, so probably not the same island, but yeah, you see production, you can even see a production boat in the secret scene when they do that, when they go up that high, because it's like, even production wasn't ready for this.
Right.
They just kind of did it. Yeah. So
cool.
All right. So let's start off the episode proper. And Deshaun is mad at Heather for standing up and trying to flip the votes on Nasir, right?
My very first note was Shan and Deshaun were fighting with each other.
Oh, that's my second note. Shan's mad at Deshaun for pouting. And then he talks to her the next morning. That's literally my first note. But first off, he's mad at Heather for standing up. And Heather,
I missed that.
We got a lot of Heather this episode.
We did get, a shocking amount of Heather. I was almost like, can I handle this amount of Heather that we're hearing from now?
Maybe we need to drop the whole Heather purple segment from our podcast, which we might do after this week, because there's been a lot of Heather.
She seems to have been unpurpled.
Unpurpled. What is that? So we separated the red and blue?
She's now blue Heather red.
Blue Heather red. What? Oh, because Heather's in between the red.
Because the red and blue are separated.
This is a really artsy joke. So let's start there. So Deshaun's met Heather for standing up. I do notice that Deshaun definitely likes to vocalize his feelings. He doesn't internalize them at all. And that could come back to bite him.
Not a sign of a good winner.
Typically,
even though he was my winner pick last week.
Typically not, but then we've had winners like Sandra who let you know what they're thinking.
Exactly.
So it's definitely not like a death nail or anything. I'm trying to think of a word for it, but yeah, it's definitely not like a killer to your game. But it is something to take consideration when you're like, but I will say that Heather tried talking to him. He's like, Heather, I just need a moment. He's like, just give me a moment because right now I can't. So it's very smart. I feel like it's a very good. Like we can talk about this, but right now let me cool off. Mm-hmm. It's much better to do that than to blow up on somebody. So props to Deshawn for saying, hey, just give me a moment to cool down before we talk about this. But yeah, Shan was definitely mad at Deshawn for basically ruining her plan.
Oh man, it was so bad. It was just like so dramatic. There was it was already done, by the way. I mean, once something has been completed and over with, there's no going back. You can't change anything. Yeah. I just don't get the point of the
Shan needed to do the Deshawn tactic of just like cooling off before talking to him, because I feel like it would do the relationship, as we learn, a lot of good, because we're literally the next morning they're talking to each other and seems like maybe it's just temporary. It seems like, we're like, they talked it out. They feel a little bit better. Maybe they're not like smoothed out over as we see on the next time on Survivor, where she's literally like, we're getting Deshawn next.
That to me, that was sure there weren't any high emotions, but it just once again shows that Shan doesn't listen to people. She literally heard him
in this
say,
case, she is not listening to Deshawn. I think it's really worth nailing down.
Yeah, specifically in this case, Deshawn saying, hey, I'm sorry about last night. Sorry I blew up. I just really am trying to make sure you hear me. That's all, you understand where I'm coming from so that we're on the same page kind of thing. And Shan's like, yeah. So what I want to do is, and it's just like, so you're
which happens
not
later with
listening.
Ricard, which we'll get to. She does the same thing. I do want to point out, though,
maybe she just needs some food, and maybe her brain is just not processing. I think what's important
to process here is that this is what the show is showing us. So this is what we have to process, because we're not being presented with things that are happening on the island that we don't see. And I say this because Shannon has not gotten any votes against her all game. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean she's going to go to the end and get everyone's vote or anything like that. That's not what this means, because people have played what we call goat games where you get dragged to the end as a goat, got no votes against them, and then got 0 votes at the end as well. Like, it's not, this has happened before, but I will give Shan props, because despite how she is portrayed in the show, she still has yet to be seriously targeted. And she is loaded with advantages, or she was before this episode.
That is a fair point.
So she's doing something right. It's just we're not being shown what she's doing right. We're just being shown what Shan's doing wrong, clearly setting her up for some sort of downfall. Is what it feels like from the storytelling. So I think when there's, I feel like there's a lot of discussion on Shan. It's like the discussion really comes down to what are we being shown versus what is the numbers saying. What are the numbers? The numbers are telling us that Shan is actually doing pretty well. She's got no votes against her. She's not like in a Ben Driebergen situation where every week she's having to play idols just to like save herself. But at the same time, we're being shown how much she's like she's like not treating people correctly.
Well, we can get to this later as far as tribal, but I feel like there's definitely a reason why she stayed tonight and other people were targeted. And it didn't necessarily have to do with relationships. For me, the tribal council she was a part of, I feel like the person who went home was because they were a legit jury threat, but yeah. Okay, so the next thing I have here is Nasir tries to tell Heather it is water under the bridge. And then it feels like between those two that it wasn't really water under the bridge. Nasir was harboring a little ill will, but Heather also was like, Nasir, I wasn't trying to get you voted out. And then basically Nasir's like, Evie, what did Heather tell you? And Evie's like, oh yeah, Heather definitely told me to vote you out, Nasir. Heather asked Evie.
Yeah,
without
you're right.
even any pre like, hey, if I ask you this, will you please be on my side?
Yeah, that's kind of what Heather was like. Come on,
Evie, what did I say last night?
Yeah.
Vote Nasir.
Hint, Evie, hint.
Well, what I thought was interesting is the confessional we get from Evie sometime during all of this, where she says, and I wrote it down because I thought it was pretty good, chaos doesn't help the people in power. It helps the bottom people. And she was so excited that there was so much chaos at camp because she knew none of it was about her.
That's why if you watch a season where Boston Rob gets to the end, aka seasons 8 or 22, they're so like they're not fun, because Boston Rob has controlled everyone to not cause chaos. And we love chaos. That's what, like, chaos makes Survivor fun and keeps it fresh. Though too much chaos can be a negative thing, of course. But that's why if you watch a Boston Rob controlled season, it's like, yep, this is pretty calm because Boston Rob has everyone under lockdown.
So Kevy's right. Chaos helps those at the bottom, not those at the top. But I also have a note here. It says we have this shot of like Nasir talking to Heather, and Nasir's like, Heather, I know you voted for me, and she's like, no, I didn't. And like Xander's like behind this tree, and they zoom in on him, and Xander's like, I voted for I voted for Nasir, and I put a big old LOL on my phone because I was like, it was pretty funny, the way they edited that and everything. But yeah, it definitely, Heather, I would say, I mean, ultimately at the end of the episode, I guess Heather won. But here, it felt like in this moment, Heather was like, you kind of lost this moment, Heather.
Oh, yeah.
Take it on the chin and move on.
She wasn't very good at her lying. And then when she was caught in it, she was like, oh, yeah, okay.
I say he's being purpled.
Yeah.
I'm not used to all this attention. We then get, and this is, keep this in mind for when we talk about our winner analysis later. We get a very personal segment from Ricard, who says he's deaf in his right ear. And I know I'd read this online, but I forgot if I had been on the show or not. Because Ricard talks about how if you look at him at tribal council, he's always on the very right side of everyone sitting at tribal council because he can hear well with his left ear. So everyone's to his left. Every time at every tribal council, it's actually very considerate of production to do this.
Right.
To put him on the very right so he can hear everyone. Because if he was on the very left, of course, he'd be able to hear no one. He'd have to like turn his head the whole way the whole time. So we get like this very unique editing to like get us to understand what this means.
Right.
It's not just being told to us, it's being shown to us via like an editing moment.
Right.
What did you think about it?
I thought it was really cool. I wrote down that it was really cool. No, I think it's interesting because when you are able to show what that might actually feel like or be like, and kind of put you in that moment where they are, I think it just makes the experience that much more real to you.
Yeah.
To understand exactly what he's going through, and for just, whatever 3 seconds, understand, oh, that would really, really be a negative thing to have to work through while you're out there. I mean, and in life in general. I'm not saying it's easier here in regular wherever he lives.
Yeah. Because he was explaining like how he was like reading lips and stuff, and like while he was doing that though, like everyone was like kind of muffled, and it was definitely like a way for, I think, all of us to kind of like get just a brief glimpse into what is it like to have one ear where you just really can't hear much of anything.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah. And I know you and I have both like worked at a few deaf events where like there was like literally a deaf concert we worked at, and it wasn't that they could hear the music, is that they felt. Right. It was like a lot of bass, I guess is the word. They could really feel the music, so they're all dancing, having a good time. So it's like, they hard of hearing for Ricard in one ear. I cannot relate, but I've been around, I feel like, deaf people, and I've seen how they are. Especially with people who also understand them. And it's just like, they just want to be understood. Right. It's frustrating to not have very many people understand them. Ricard's not deaf. He just has some hard of hearing. But also, I have like tendonitis in my ears. I think that's what it's called, where I have like a constant ringing. So if I were ever on Survivor, I need to explain, I have constant ringing in my ears at all times.
You want the audience to hear ringing?
I want the audience just get a loud under everything you hear all the time. That's why sometimes people will talk to me and I'm like, the ringing is louder than what you're saying to me. So.
Oh, is that your excuse?
No, it's not an excuse.
For not
it's
taking out the trash?
Yeah. Wesley, can you take out the trash? Oh, yeah, I just hear the ringing in my ears. That must be the ringing telling me to take out the trash. Wesley, can you do the dishes? Oh, that ringing's really telling me to do a lot of chores today. Yeah, that's what it is. But then I feel like no one else's season, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ricard has a winner's quote here.
Does he?
He does. He says, like, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically says something along the lines of, I could be the first hard of hearing winner.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't feel like no one in the first like eight, or this is episode 9. No one like the first 8 episodes have said anything along the lines of, I could be a winner, or this could cause me a winner, or I just want to be the winner. I feel like people say they want to play a great game, big moves. No one's really said the word winner necessarily. Not in the show.
That we remember.
Yeah, that we recall. So if someone said it, please remind me. But this felt like a winner's quote.
I remember you saying that winner's quote, and I just didn't write it down. So. Well, but that is very interesting.
It's very validating after having Ricard at the top of my winners analysis last week.
That's true. You have been on Ricard for a long time now.
Ever since like episode 1, I was like, I had Ricard in my top 3. I just wasn't like really sold on him being the winner.
We're just going to skip over the Tiffany.
Yeah. Let's just forget the whole saga. Look, Tiffany had a balanced edit. So does Ricard, okay?
All right, moving on.
I just felt better about Tiffany than Ricard. All right, Shan pulls the... Oh, I definitely spelled this wrong. Oh no. Okay. So
this is when
she pulls her alliance away from Xander and Erica. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, for some reason I totally misspelled alliance, and I'm like, how did I even misspell this? So I was confused. But yeah, no. Shan pulls away her alliance like right in front of them. She's like, how about the four of us just go talk somewhere else? And it's like, what?
It was so obvious. Yeah. It wasn't even like, oh, look, there's a pretty rock over there I want to go pick up. I don't know.
Let's go to the water well, except for you, Xander and Erica.
Right. It would have been more obvious to be like, hey, Xander and Erica, can you move so we can talk? Like, that would have been the only way it could have been worse.
This reminds me of Heroes versus Villains, where Russell and Rob are literally sitting next to each other, Mary. I know it's been a while since you watched this, but I just watched it recently-ish. Mm-hmm. And they're sitting next to each other, and they're on the beach, and Rob's like, all right, Russell, who do you think should go? He's like, one of them girls, one of them weak girls, like Courtney or Sandra. And Courtney and Sandra are sitting right in front of Rob. And Rob's goodness. Like, well, I wouldn't have said that in front of them. That's a bold statement. He's like, that's not how I played. And Russell's like, yeah, you can learn a lot from me.
Oh my
And I'm paraphrasing the conversation. I don't have it quote for quote, but it's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of Russell Hantz just boldly proclaiming in front of Sandra and Courtney, we should vote them out.
Right.
Like they're nothing. Like they're garbage. And it's like... Stuff like that. Shan gets to the end like, well, Xander and Erica remember this? You know, like being treated like they're just not.
And again, in her defense, her back was to them. I guess she could have had no idea. Once again, she could
Shan's
be
not
so
hard of hearing, though.
Sleep deprived, so food deprived.
She is
They
food
could have
deprived.
snuck up behind her and sat down.
Shan, again, this episode does not get food. And it's like the saga. Shan's going to go, I know you haven't seen Worlds Apart yet, but there's this guy in Worlds Apart, Mary, who doesn't get any of the reward challenges ever, and he gets more and more mad as the season goes along until eventually it becomes his birthday. His name's Rodney, for those who know what I'm talking about.
Told me this
because I think I showed you just the segment, but with no context, it's just not as funny. Well, he once again, he doesn't get to go on the reward. No one picks him to go on the reward because he doesn't win it. And he's like doing dishes. He's like, can't believe I'm doing my dishes on my birthday. No one takes me on any rewards. He's like, only one person's going to final 3, and that's me. Everyone else is not going. It's like Rodney forgot there's like it's a final 3, Rodney.
Right.
Rodney's like, no one's going to final 3 except for me. He's like, got dishes on my birthday. Can't get no rewards on my birthday. It's like a whole thing. And it's not just that day, by the way. Days later, it's his birthday still being talked about, how no one took him on the reward. He's very salty about it. It's really funny. It's really funny. Shan's not to that level by any means, but she's definitely not getting any rewards.
No.
So I feel like it might build up.
But she is not getting any points for relationships. I mean, again, that we can see.
Well, she does have her alliance who, I mean...
But her alliance doesn't like her either.
Well, Danny and Liana, Danny and Liana are on board with her. It's just Deshawn's the only one who's being seen.
Danny, Liana, and Ricard, I guess, are on board with her.
And to be fair, we're now down to a final 8 after this episode, and 4 of them are Shan's alliance. Mm-hmm. If Deshawn does not turn, though, all the next time on Survivor kind of implies he does. So.
Well, again, I wrote this down too because I think it's just like an epitome of Shan's game right now. She said everyone wants Xander out because of the idol, but I want Erica out. Yeah. And there was no logic, there was no reasoning, there was.
And she doesn't trust her, is what she said.
Well, yeah, she doesn't trust her. Does she trust Xander?
I don't know. That's a great question.
It just seems like she gets fixated on these things to happen, and nothing else is okay.
Because later on in the episode, she's like, it's like Ricard's like, let's vote out Nasir. He has an idol and he doesn't see it coming. Mm-hmm. She's like, and you like see her face, and I'm definitely making sure to include this in my loop of video here on the podcast. Is she's like,
I have an idol,
but I want Heather.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's like, yeah, we know, but there's no lot. And Ricard's like 100% right. He's like, but there's no logic there. Like, Heather is not a threat. Mm-hmm. Nasir is. He's likable and he has an idol.
Right. I just think it's like a learning moment. If you get on Survivor and you have people you want targeted out, you've got to be flexible.
It feels like emotional decisions, but only because we're not being presented with what her logic is. I'm sure she has it.
I'm sure she does too.
We're just not being presented with it.
That's why I'm saying I'm sure she has a reason. I'm sure there is a point behind it, but you've got to be flexible with your alliance and be willing to move stuff around.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's, as we've mentioned before, she's doing a good enough job not have received any votes so far. So we'll see if that means she gets to the end and becomes a GOAT, or maybe at some point people get tired of Shan. We just don't know, but it definitely feels like the storytelling is setting us up for a Deshawn downfall at some point.
Right.
Did I say Deshawn? I meant Shan. Deshawn and Shan are not an item. That's not happening. I mean, if it is, it'd be very, like, we hate each other on Survivor, but now, you know what? We're in love.
I don't
What a
think
turn
so.
of events. All right. So the next thing that happens is we have our immunity / reward challenge where two people are getting immunity because, and we're splitting up into two groups. Now on Survivor's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, they posted pictures of them drawing rocks. I thought it was going to be in this episode because they posted it like a day before the episode, but I guess they posted that because we didn't see them draw rocks.
Right.
So long story short, everyone's randomly split up in two groups. And once again, Danny and Deshaun and Xander are all, well, Xander's not usually in their group, but it's like Danny and Deshaun are in the same group. It's like this group's winning. And sure enough, that group is the one that wins the reward. So those two like together are unstoppable on a team. It's even though this wasn't even a team game, it's insane. So yeah, chicken and beef soup for the winning team. So this is the Talk Jeff's Ear Off challenge. This is the one where Christian and Vicky stood for 6 hours and talked Jeff's ear off. And I loved every second of it that we saw on the show.
Were they able to wear shoes when Christian and David versus
That's
Live?
a great question. Because we talked
once
about that last
again,
week.
I feel like it went really short.
I would have to go back and look, and I'm open if somebody wants to go check this while they're listening to this podcast, see if they did. I don't recall Alec and Christian and all of them wearing shoes, but it's possible. But I don't think they did. I definitely remember. I think that their feet were not. I don't think their feet were standing the same way. I don't remember
like
such an emphasis on their
ledge
feet
or something.
I don't remember their feet being in the same. Yeah, if it was, then wow, Christian did amazing because here they went 33 minutes.
Right.
Christian went 6 hours along with Alec.
Right.
But Christian was able to go like, Jeff, do you know what a Reuben sandwich is?
Right.
Like, and somehow that just distracted him long enough to survive. Because like people here, like Nasir loses his arm feeling like
Very quickly.
15, 20 minutes in the challenge. I mean, he is ripped. Like Christian's not ripped. So I wonder if the muscle has anything to do with like his arm falling asleep, or if maybe they put the thing further behind the head so it makes it like I'm doing it right now with my arms up. I'm kind of feeling like how that could happen. So because also Xander and Deshaun got done, they're both like slapping their hands trying to get feeling, and so
yeah, I really think they've made it more difficult in some way
for sure.
Right.
I read, and this is just rumor mill, I don't have any confirmation on this, is that because Christian and Alec went so long on that challenge, they had to delay Tribal by a day, which changes the production schedule. And I'm sure it's not just Jeff, by the way. Jeff's just the face of this, but I'm sure production doesn't want to have to change their schedule.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, I guess.
Like, we will never have another Baba Booey from Palau or Tom and Ian go 12 hours.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because you hear about all the behind the scenes of that, and it's like, Jeff at one point was like, all right, we're going to go on 1 foot. And Tom's like, no, we're not going on 1 foot. And you can call the lawyers about this.
Yeah.
He's like, you said we stand on this buoy until we all drop. And that's what we're doing. And sure enough, that's what they did. And I'm sure Jeff was not happy. And I'm sure production was not ready to shoot into the nighttime. So it was pretty crazy.
I had one other note about the beginning of this.
Okay.
I thought it was interesting because they say, hey, are you all ready or something? Jeff says, are you guys ready? And Heather's like, yeah. And so then Jeff goes, Heather's ready. Is everybody else ready? And it was just like really weird that he called her out. I don't know why. It just
because she was the only one who responded.
Maybe that was what it was.
It's kind of like when
That's
you go
probably
to
what it was.
Like an assembly at school or whatever, and like, are you all excited? And like two people say yeah, and like, well, those two people are excited. Is everyone excited? It's kind of.
I guess it just felt weird because once again we're hearing from Heather, and we're hearing Heather actually.
I mean, I think we're gonna have to drop the Heather purple at it after this week. Surprisingly enough, after all that time, she was getting purpled. I think the biggest note, and this is another one people make a lot of memes about. Liana hates Xander's face. Yeah, exactly.
And she could die.
yeah. She's like, I hate his face. Look at it, Evie. I hate his face so much. I could die. And it reminded me of the little girl from Despicable Me where she's like, it's so fluffy, I could die. But not cute.
Not positive. And
not
negative.
positive, but not cute. But the whole, I could die. Leona's like, I could die. It's like, I feel like
just
something
seems so like.
Did something happen with these two that wasn't in the show? Like, did Liana and Xander have like a thing at some point? Because there was like 3 episodes where we barely saw anything from Yellow. Do they have like a thing at some point, and then like they don't have a thing? It's so confusing because like it's a very.
She's so dramatic about it.
Yeah, but it's just Xander, and it's like, but why Xander? What did Xander do?
I think what Xander did was pulled out a fake idol.
But she didn't like him before that.
Sure, she didn't like him before that, but I think that just solidified the hatred.
Her hatred for his face.
For his face.
Just look at his face.
And that he was like smug about it or something. I don't know. Like I can
totally
see how it would get under your skin.
Mm-hmm.
But actually saying that out loud.
She told Evie, look at it. Look at his face.
Look at his face.
I could die. People did point out that if Xander had said the same thing about Liana, this would have gone a whole different direction. It would not have been funny.
No, it wouldn't be.
Nope, it'd been like, why is Xander being such a jerk to Liana? So but you know what? That's just what comedy is. Like, it's who is getting made fun of, who's being poked at. Because Xander on Twitter, or on Instagram, if you follow Xander on Instagram, who, by the way, he folled me the other day. I thought that was really cool. I don't know if Xander listens to this, but if he does, it was really cool. But even Xander was like, he made a post of him, like all the pictures of him standing on the perch, and he said, "Watch Mojo's top 10 hated faces." Now that was pretty funny.
Well, he is kind of like the golden boy. She might just be tired of the all attention gets. I don't know.
First off, Blake Towsley from Guatemala is the golden boy. Okay. Everyone knows this.
Excuse me.
The pre-merge boot from Guatemala. No. So Erica wins immunity. She's like, this has been a lifelong dream, Jeff. And Jeff's like, cool.
After Shan very loudly cheers for Nasir.
Yeah. People were pretty vocally cheering for Nasir and cheering for Deshaun, I noticed. So it's a good thing is that the people won immunity.
I was so happy that Erica and Xander won. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When Erica won it, you could just feel like, oh, yeah, Erica, you need to win this. Same thing with Xander. Xander needed it. Xander's on the chopping block hardcore now.
Well,
he's the last Yass who didn't flip to the Shan. Shan. Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting that after Erica wins and gets down, she and everyone's cheering on Deshaun.
Yeah.
She says to, I think it was Nasir, she says, I think it'll be out of nowhere. Xander just drops.
Yeah.
And we know that Erica is kind of
Too
in
obvious.
with Xander. But yeah, it was just kind of like her trying to play on their side also a little bit. You know?
Oh, I meant the storytelling was too obvious that Xander was going to win. Because they know that's what you're thinking. And by having someone say it, it almost feels like, okay, now it's a little too obvious.
Sure. I was just saying, I know Erica is probably actually secretly cheering for Xander.
Probably.
But when she's over there sitting with a group that's all like, go to Sean, she's, oh yeah, I think Xander will drop. I just thought it was interesting.
I will say it feels like, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if we didn't have the two groups going to tribal, like we just had everyone going to tribal as a group of 10,
right?
It definitely felt like before the two group split happened that there was like a movement towards let's flip on Shan's alliance. Let's flip on the Black Alliance. Because there's only 4 of them and there's 6 of us. But now, with this 2 group thing, it kind of screwed everyone. Because now it's back to being even. Like, they didn't even get a real chance to do what they were going to do this episode or next. And it's like, here we go again. A twist that kind of just upsets things for the sake of upsetting things. Like, it brings interesting dynamics out, but I don't know. Like,
well, I agree. I do agree. But at the same time, this is a much shorter length of schedule, right? And I know they probably had to have a 2-boot episode at some point.
Well, that's the thing, though. They actually didn't. If you count this, because the finale is December 15th, they're going into the finale with 5 people, and trust me, that is my preferred way of going to the finale. Let's do a 3-hour finale with 5 people. That's to me is the best version. But they've done a lot of finales with 6, and this could have gone into. If they didn't have double boot here, they would have gone in with 6.
Okay, well.
If they'd gone in with 7, I'd be like, yeah, that's too many. I mean, I think 6 is too many, but they've done it.
I didn't mind this twist, I guess, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not anti the twist. I'm just saying they were showing us all this stuff before about how they were like talking about flipping on, having the 6 people basically flip on the 4, but we never.
But now they can't because this is real life.
Thanks. All right. So the challenge ends and we have one group go to the old Uwa Beach, which I believe is the Shan Ricard group, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
And the other group just goes back to the merge beach. So with them split, Deshaun is like feeling out Danny on voting out Liana, and Danny's like, I'm voting out Evie, obviously. And Deshaun's like, no, definitely wasn't considering flipping. No,
just thinking. Yeah, it was so funny because Deshaun's like, what are you thinking? What do you mean? And Danny's literally like, what do you mean? What is there to think about?
Obviously. Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
We're going to vote out Liana.
Right.
Because that would be the only other option of what I'm proposing to you, Danny's vote out Liana. Which, by the way, for Deshaun is what he wants to do. But he keeps getting stuck in situations where it's like if he does it, he's going to get screwed in the next episode.
Right, yeah.
And I wonder if, because based on Next Summer Survivor, where they're all talking, I don't trust Deshaun, you get him out, I wonder if that conversation gets brought up later, like, hey, Deshaun talked to me about voting out Liana, and Deshaun's, going to say whatever he's going to say, but Shan's already sus of him anyways. There's already momentum, I'm saying.
Wasn't that on the next week on Survivor?
They didn't
think
say
we
anything
literally
about,
saw a clip about that.
Yeah, they said, well, next time on Survivor, they said that, let's get out Deshaun. I don't trust him. He's lying to me. But they didn't say what he was lying about or why he was lying in that clip.
Oh, no, I was thinking... I swear I have this picture of Xander saying Deshaun came to me and said he was okay with voting out Liana to somebody.
Oh, no, okay. So no, he said that in the show. He said that no.
And last time
Xander came up to Deshaun and told Deshaun that Liana's right okay with voting out Deshaun. That's what you're saying.
Oh, that's what it was.
I think
Maybe
that's
that's what it
what
was.
you're talking
Yeah.
about. You just got the names mixed up. But yeah, basically, yeah, Danny's like, no. Liana asked for Xander's idol. He says, well, I'll give it to Evie. And she's like, will you give it to me? He's like, no.
Just no.
Obviously.
Right.
Didn't we already do this, Liana, at Tribal Council? And I said, no. Like, what? Nothing's changed between that Tribal Council and this one.
Oh, we actually have another nickname for Xander. He's the prom king, if you remember that.
What?
He said, I'm the prom king because he had the idol. So everyone was coming up to him.
You mean the immunity necklace?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Him and his betrayed are. Yeah, the prom king. But it's like Liana tried getting his idol without the knowledge's power advantage.
Right.
Now I'm just connecting the dots. I'm like, oh yeah, Liana's tried this now twice. Once with power, once without. And both times Xander's like, no. Like, obviously I don't trust you. I'll give it to Evie, which by the way, he should have. I feel like long term, having Evie stay in the game another tribal would have been great. But all right, we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, Deshaun basically says it's too soon to flip on his alliance this week. And it's like, okay, is next week the best time? You know, like when is Deshaun thinking is the best time? Because here we're going down from a 10 to 8. So is it when we go from 8 to 7? He wants to do it the final 8?
Well, you don't want to do it too soon because then you have people mad at you and then you're the next one out.
You got to survive so many tribals.
Right.
But it's like, you know, that's a lot of people to eliminate. Like, it's not like he's flipping on 2 people. He's flipping on he's flipping on 3.
Right.
He's flipping on 3 people. So he's flipping on them and we're going to have a final 8, right? So he flips on them at 8. So then at 7 and at 6, we got to get rid of the other 2. And then at final 5, then Deshaun's finally clear of them. But that's trusting that 3 tribals goes in his favor.
Right.
You know, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not there. I can't make the decision. It just feels, when is the right time, you know? Maybe
if I was
next week.
him, I think it would be a little early, but
yeah, I know. And he was in a tough situation because it wasn't just like him and Liana with 3 other people where it's like, okay, they were already going to vote for Liana.
Right.
He was in a group where it was like majority hit of his alliance. And he's like, oh, I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of in a situation here. Yeah. So, Nasir, okay, so we cut over to the other group, and Nasir tells Heather to her face that, yeah, you're going home. What'd you think about this play,
I love it
Mary?
when this happens, because every time this happens, it's like, okay, so Heather's not going home.
Every time we see it happen,
I know.
doesn't work out.
Every time we see it happen, it doesn't work out, because there's a reason you always see it.
Nasir,
and it's just like,
more.
Come on, Nasir.
Nasir!
I get the whole, every time people do it, it's like, I just want to be honorable about it. I don't want to backstab anyone. And I get the sentiment, but at the same time, it never works out. I don't know why you do it. And
it's just not a good play.
It's not. And honestly, it really didn't hurt. That actually probably didn't hurt him because Erica and Heather weren't the ones that flipped because of him telling them that.
Yeah, Ricard came over and said, hey.
Ricard and Shan wanted to do it just because he had the idol. So it had nothing to do with him going over and telling Heather.
But it ain't great because
no, it's not good.
Heather and Erica could have been like, hey, Nasir, Ricard says he wants to vote you out, but we want to work with you. But now they don't want to work with Nasir because Nasir just told Heather to her face, hey, we're voting you out. And Erica's like, well, would you play the idol for Heather? And he's like, no way. No. I'm not doing that.
Well, that is a dumb question. I mean, I don't...
Well, obviously. Well, I think what Erica is trying to propose is Nasir's like, hey, Heather, you're going home. The numbers are going your way, so I'm just going with them.
Right.
And Erica's like, well, are you willing to flip the numbers by playing your idol for Heather? He's like, no way.
Well, they could have flipped the numbers anyways. Like, Nasir
no, I know,
was the deciding vote.
I get that.
But anyways,
I get what you're saying. But, well, Shan has the extra vote and everyone knows it. So he would have had to play his idol for Heather.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So Shan had the extra vote. So they could have laid 3 votes on Heather, and then Nasir, Heather, and Erica could have laid 3 votes on Shan or Ricard. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Which they should have. That would have been such a big move.
I think that's why Shan played her extra vote, but then she plays on 2 different people. So we'll talk about that later. Ricard proposes voting Nasir since he has an idol. Shan says, that's why I wrote down, no, she wants Heather.
Yeah.
Because if you look at her, like her face when she like hears this news, she's like, it's almost like, but that's not what I want. And it was almost like kind of like whiny.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you see people online like defending Shan, it's like, I get it because like clearly she's doing something right, but like the show is painting her this way, showing every negative thing she's doing for a reason, and this is one of them, because they definitely get close up on her face and they hold that shot the whole time so you can see her whole facial like go through. And she does it again later where she's like, Ricard's like, will you play the extra vote? And she has like the hand movement. She's like, yes, I will, Ricard. And it's like they're showing these things on purpose. Go ahead.
No, I understand that. I will just say when that first happened and they zoom in on her face, I was thinking, oh, she's reacting this way because Ricard is like, we need to get him out because he has an idol.
Yeah.
And she's thinking, I have an idol. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm going to be, Ricard's going to flip on me. That's what I was thinking was going through her head.
That is a thought. It's never presented in the show. Not that it wasn't talked about, but I feel like Ricard and Shan have each other's backs. I'm not concerned about we have never, besides that one little tiff they had over the extra vote and giving it back to her or whatever. I feel like these two have never really said like, Shan's never been like, I want to get Ricard out. Ricard's never been like, I want to get Shan out. Like not in any serious manner in the show. So Shan, I don't think.
Okay, maybe not Ricard. I'm just saying it just seemed to dawn on her. Oh man, I have a target on my back because of the idol. That's all I got.
I feel like Shan has tunnel vision more so than anything.
Sure.
As someone who gets tunnel vision a lot, I can relate. I'm very aware of what tunnel vision looks like and feels like. Like you're on a one-track mind, you don't care what anyone else says, and you hear the other thought, and you have to take yourself back and be like, okay, maybe they have a point. Maybe my tunnel vision isn't the best way to go. And I feel like that's what happened later with her actually playing her extra vote on who Ricard wanted. But yeah, in this moment, it's just like it just feels like we've gotten the same song and dance ever since Brad or JD, I forgot who it was. Like not since like episode like 3, I feel like. We just get Shan's way or the highway,
Basically.
Yeah.
But it did go Ricard's way tonight.
It did. Ricard finally, Ricard was always the one coming up with the plans for these two. And then Shan was the one kind of like doing the dirty work, which by the way, I see, and I understand the general sentiment is like, well, Shan should get the credit. And it's like, if you've ever watched Survivor in the past, you'll know the person doing the dirty work typically is not the person who gets credit at the end. Mm-hmm. They're typically the one who gets lambasted at the end, or they don't make it to the end because they're the one targeted for doing the dirty work.
Right.
Very rarely does it go the other way around. Where like the few examples I can think of is JT and Steven, where JT was like the face of their alliance and in essence was the target, but was never targeted because those two just like were able to slice through everyone perfectly. But that's a very rare situation.
Right.
So it's hard to be the one doing the dirty work and being clearly the face of all the strategery, but yeah. Strategy. I don't know what strategery. Yeah, it's just a new game called Strategery. Yeah. Ricard said, okay, yeah. And then, but literally, it's in the same conversation I have here. Ricard's like, let's use the extra vote and to vote for, I think he says for Nasir or for Nasir. And Shan's like, okay. She's like, I'll play it. And Ricard's like, will you? Because Ricard's asking basically if he could play it. And she's like, I will play it. And she does the whole hand movement. And it's like, every episode we see her like leaning forward, slapping her hands, getting people's like face, doing like these are things that like I remember and I'm not even there. Like I don't remember how Deshaun talks to people. I don't remember how Leon, like I don't see like none of them are doing like such like blatant body movements that I remember.
No, she's very expressive.
She's very expressive. That's the word. Yeah.
Physical
and her expressions
posturing.
are like, they get imprinted in my brain. I can't forget them.
Well, I guess that's why she does them.
Well, yeah, maybe that's what people get tribal. They're like, what did Shan want again? Oh, yeah. I guess, hey, I mean, maybe it works. I don't know. Ricard does say she always gets her way. But he knows that in general she has his back. He's just worried that despite her having his back, that she will make the wrong move that will hurt them both. So he's not worried about her flipping on him. He's just worried that she's going to make the wrong move.
Right. And again, I was going to kind of bring this up, I guess, more at Tribal, but one reason I feel like they've stuck together so long is because that they've been together so long. It's kind of like the devil you know is better than the one you don't know, or whatever that saying is. So like, I feel like he's sticking with her because he knows her, he understands her, he knows she's gonna flip on him eventually. But for right now, their goals are aligned.
Yeah,
and so that's why they're sticking together, and that's why Nasir ended up going out, because obviously Nasir's more of a threat than Heather, and I'm sure Shan realized that eventually.
The lack of personal content between people this season, we get a lot of like individual personal content. The lack of personal content between like two people just like talking, hanging out, and connecting is very blatant this season. Because like, I don't know if Shan and Ricard are friends, because we've never seen them connect on that level.
We just see strategy.
We just see, it's almost like a marriage of convenience. And I'm sure they actually are friends. That's just like, that's on the show. I'm not blaming either of them. That's just like, the show is like made no point. We've gotten so many individual, like, I come from a broken home, and, you know, I grew up here, and I'm also trans, by the way. And, you know, whatever their thing is, or I got married to another woman and my family's conservative, like that kind of thing. But we never see like people just like connecting, with these few exceptions, like Shan and Liana we saw connecting. Right. Which is weird though. We never saw like a Shan Ricard connecting, I feel like. And if we did, it was very early in the season. Very early on. So it's just like, it almost feels like a marriage of convenience between these two.
Yeah.
But they're so close that it feels like, no, it has to be more.
I'm sure they have to be friends.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah. This is part of the storytelling this season. I will say that I think Ricard, out of everyone in this game, Ricard, and probably because he has the most time with her, has figured out how to basically handle interacting with Shan the best, because Deshaun's over here getting frustrated by her, but I feel like Ricard has a little like kick in him, like where he's like, he ain't taking no crap either.
Right.
Like, he's got a little Sandra, for lack of a better word, in him. Because she's like, I want to get out. I want to get Heather. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, because he knows that's how I need to communicate with Shan for her. Like, I'm not doing this like passive thing to hopefully. No, I don't care. I want to do this. Nasir has an idol. I want to get out Nasir because he's not going to see it coming. And like, sure, Shan should think to herself, well, will he do this to me? But we're not there yet.
Right.
It's too early. So she doesn't have to worry about that yet. Shan's paranoid enough as it is. Yeah. I just feel like Ricard has the best handling, and this is all positives towards my winner analysis. So, yeah. Do you have any more notes about any of this before we get to tribal council? On anything? No? Okay. There was a lot of talking, but it all felt kind of repetitive. The big things really were Deshaun and Shan and Ricard, and then of course Nasir and Heather. So we've kind of hit on all those. All right. So we're at tribal council. Tiffany's already sitting at tribal. I feel like it's a little different.
Was thinking about that. And yes, it is a little weird, but I wonder if it's because they could only call her in once. You know what I mean? Normally they call the jury in after the tribe's sitting down, but there's two tribes that have to come and sit down. Yeah. And so, and one, she would already be there, and one in the second tribal. Yeah. So they just wanted her already there for the first
Without
tribal,
rewatching Winners at War, I forgot if the entire Edge of Extinction jury was already there when people walked in. They may have been. They may have already been there.
And even if they didn't, they just decided, hey, let's not do that next time. Like, it felt off kilter because we normally get to see them come in and get to hear their name.
And you and I just watched Token Cheens where they do that.
Right.
Yeah, a classic season.
But it wasn't a major thing, honestly.
Yeah. So it felt jarring, I guess, from going from Token Cheens to this. It's been a while since I've watched Winners at War in any sense to like, well, I've done a couple story things, but none of them have made it past the pre-jury phase. So haven't gotten, I don't know. So it just felt a little off though. No telling her to come in. So really there's a lot of talking at tribal, and I saw a meme where everyone in the season got a gold star for not standing up and talking. And I upvote this meme or whatever. I give it a like here on the podcast. I officially endorse that meme. Congratulations, everybody. You were able to go through the plan without having to get up and needlessly talk.
Like a really basic, boring tribal. And I think even Jeff
there was just a lot of talking about nothing.
Right. Even Jeff was like, what did he say to Evie? That was like,
he's like, Evie, everyone here is saying stuff, but they're not really saying anything.
Right. And she was just like, Jeff.
Basically. She's like, yep, you're right, Jeff. We've kind of figured out that if we all agree not telling you nothing. But Jeff usually is able to pull things out of people. But here I felt like absolutely nothing of substance was gained or lost during talking at tribal.
Right.
So maybe that's why Jeff likes live tribals, because without them, people don't say anything. I don't know. But that's not true. We've seen it in the past.
Did Xander and Evie's tribe go first, or wasn't it Nasir and Heather
Nasir was voted out first.
Right.
So whichever tribal had Nasir, which would be Heather,
Heather, Shan, Ricard.
No, it wasn't
Not Xander.
I'm totally mixed up. This is what this does. when we
Nasir,
flip the scripts.
Heather, Shan,
Yep.
Ricard.
Okay.
That's only 4.
Hold on. Let me
Oh,
pull
and
up how the
Erica.
votes went.
Duh,
Yeah, and Erica.
Right.
Yeah. So here we go. Let's just get right into the vote. We're gonna do our Shan's extra vote segment here because let's cover the other tribal real quick because it's almost
Sure.
a non-issue before we get to Shan's extra vote. So the other tribal, which is actually the second one, they come in, Danny, Deshaun, and all of them, and they see Nasir sitting there, and they say they're taken aback by it. I think it makes literally no difference to what they were going to do anyways because
Yeah, sure.
Evie gets voted out.
Right.
And I don't think the plan was anything else but that.
Right.
Though I did think it was a little curious that Evie didn't play her shot in the dark because let's think this through. Evie goes into tribal, right? Mm-hmm. And she knows for a fact either the vote's going to be 3-2 against her or 3-2 in her favor. Worst case scenario, she plays that shot in the dark is it's 2-2. It's a split vote because she loses her vote if she doesn't get shot in the dark. Or she, of course, gets safety. I think this is another situation, kind of like Jeannie, where she should have played her shot in the dark. Jeannie definitely should have played it. Evie, in my opinion, I feel like she should have played it.
I think a little bit of Xander's confidence has rubbed off her because if you've noticed, Xander likes
Xander's
to
Mm-hmm.
gamble a little bit, and so far
That's why
he
I'm putting
has
your 20.
won every time. He's won his gambles
because
every
he's
time.
20 and he's
Right.
just like, yeah.
But it didn't work
No
out
risk.
this time. So they were really banking on Deshaun flipping for some reason,
Yeah.
and he didn't. So
Great job on Deshaun, though, convincing them.
Right.
Great job on Deshaun. I mean, we didn't see it, but great job on Deshaun's part to basically make Xander and Evie not play a shot in the dark, not play the idol for Evie either, by the
Right.
way.
which he could have.
Which I actually think that would have been obviously the safer play because we know how it would have turned out. Because there's no idol nullifiers this season, to the best of my knowledge. Yeah. So should Xander have played his idol for Evie? If I'm in Xander's shoes, no, I'm not playing it for Evie.
Right.
But if, as an observer from home, looking at the long game, would keeping Evie there one more tribal make her the target at the final 8? Make her the target at the final 8? Because if it makes her the target at the final 8 and she goes home at final 8 instead of here, and Xander stays, it's like he knocks out one of the 4 in that main alliance. Things could have been mixed up next episode
Right.
by knocking out Deshaun, Danny, or Liana. Like totally could have mixed up the whole game. So I do think this was a mistake by Xander. I think
Yeah.
Evie just did what she could have done. She should have played her shot in the dark, sure, but Xander should have played the idol for her above everything else.
Again, if I was in his shoes, I think that just does put a huge target on you. Because even if you do take out that big 4, one of the big 4,
then they're
or
like
whatever,
mad at him.
and those
There's
other
only
3
3
are
of
mad
them.
at. I know those other 3 are
only
mad at
3,
him,
yeah.
but would anyone else really be on his side? I mean, is he really in that tight with Erica and with?
Yeah.
I mean, Heather, who's left?
I'm trying to think who he could have knocked out and gotten the least kickback from. He knocks out Liana. He gets the wrath of Shan.
Right.
And he has to know. Well, clearly they know because Nasir got voted out that Shan's still in the game. So you get the wrath of Shan if you vote out Liana. So despite Liana not liking Xander and hating his face,
Right.
probably not the right move. So then Danny. Can you vote out Danny and get no kickback? You know, like Danny's not really been shown that much in terms of like, do people love Danny? Is he just kind of there?
Right.
Like,
We don't know.
Whereas Deshaun, had he gotten rid of Deshaun, Shannon might have been like, glad I got that off my back,
Right.
you know? Of course, he's not, I don't think he's fully aware of their relationship and what's going on with the tiff between them, between Shan and Deshaun.
I think it's kind of obvious because remember we hear from Evie about it.
Oh, so yeah, if Evie knows, then.
I feel like the whole. I don't think they're really hiding their tips from anything.
Yeah.
They're not really hiding anything at this point.
That's not been their MO. So yeah, personal opinion, I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments on was it the right move to play Xander's idol or not. Personally, I think he should have played it. What
If
are you
it was
saying
me,
officially?
I wouldn't have. I would have said, okay, I know I'm going to be safe this tribal. I know I'm going to be safe next tribal.
Yeah.
And I can shake things up in another way.
And I guess what I was thinking is, would Evie still be the big target at the final 8? And it's like, you can't guarantee that. Because if you're thinking like long game and what's the risk reward here, it's like, okay, so I survived this one, right? Because I got rid of Evie safe. Final 8, Evie's the target. She goes home.
Why is Evie the target though? That's what I'm saying. If you
Sure.
save Evie,
Because
you
she's been the target
show
for like 3 tribals.
right. But if you save Evie, you show once again that you are playing. You're playing hard. You know, I think it just moves the target to you.
I think also you got to think jury management here. does Xander get Evie's vote if he reaches the end right now with her getting voted out here?
Yeah, I think he still does.
Still think he does? Okay. Well, if he gets the end, we'll find out, I guess.
I guess we'll find out. Yep.
Or if he doesn't reach the end, then it's all for naught. So, all right, let's move on to the other tribal, the first tribal that happened. This is the big one. Shan's extra vote. Was it played correctly? So let's talk this through. Let's look at how the votes played out and what the correct situation would have been for her vote. So here's how the votes played out. Let me read this for you. All right, so we got 3 people voted for Nasir, 3 people voted for Heather. And by people, I just mean votes. So here we have Erica, Heather, and of course, I'm sorry.
One of
Erica, Heather voted for Nasir, and then one of Shan's votes was for Nasir. Shan's other vote was for Heather. Ricard voted for Heather, and of course, Nasir voted for Heather because Nasir can't vote for himself.
Wait, why did Ricard vote for Heather? He wanted Nasir out.
I'm just telling you how the votes went.
I
I'm
understand.
not saying why.
I'm just confused.
So here's where we're at. I know. Ricard's like, I want to get Nasir out, but I'll vote for Heather. You got me, Mary. So that's where I'm at.
So that he can say he never put Nasir's name down.
So I guess let's remove Ricard and Shan, and let's start with that's okay. This is how I want to think about it. Is let's start with we have Erica, Heather, and Nasir. All right, who are they voting for without Shan? Just ignore Shan and Ricard. Nasir is not voting for himself, right?
Yeah.
He can't vote for Erica. She has the immune necklace. She has to vote for Heather.
Right.
He has to vote for Heather
I
because
get
he's
that.
not voting for Ricard and Shan because they're like, hey, Nasir, we're voting for Heather. And Nasir's like, yeah, that's fine. I have zero resistance to this.
Right.
That's what clear as day.
okay.
Nasir was
Yes.
not subtle about this. Okay, so Nasir, no matter what's voting for Heather. Heather is not voting for Erica. She has the necklace. Heather is voting for Nasir because Ricard came over to her and said, hey, Heather and Erica, we're going to blindside Nasir because he has an idol and he also doesn't see it coming. And also, remember how 2 seconds ago he just told you he's voting for you? And they're like, yeah. So Heather, now I'm not saying guaranteed, is most likely to vote for Nasir.
Right.
Erica is with Heather. She's going to vote Nasir. So we are at 2-1. That's where we're at. It's not guaranteed. Nothing in Survivor is. But that is our most likely scenario. And sure enough, that is what's happened. Of course, it's all based on what we saw on the show. I get that. Other things happened. So Shan and Ricard go in the tribal council. What are their options, right? We have 2 votes no matter what on Nasir. We got 1 vote no matter what on Heather. They want Nasir out. They put both votes on Nasir. It's a 4-1. Nasir plays his idol. The 1 vote that Nasir votes for is Heather. She goes home. Oops, that sucks, but it's not Shan or Ricard. Or what they could have done was Shan or Ricard could have laid their vote on, well, we're in a rough situation. Now I'm thinking about it. They can't put their votes, like who do they put their other vote on? They can't put it on Erica. She doesn't have an idol.
Yeah.
So, well, they just need to be okay with Heather going home because they're not going to vote for each other.
Right.
That'd be dumb. So, like, I just cannot wrap my head around why. Because, okay, Shan plays her 2 votes and she splits them between Heather and Nasir. And on the revote, she didn't get 2 votes. It wasn't like, okay, even if we revote, I can just pile votes on. She only got 1 vote on the revote. She got Nasir. Unless I'm reading this incorrectly. There was no revote. No, there was a revote. It was a 3-3 tie and then they revoted. There was 3 votes Nasir, 3 votes Heather. Erica, Heather, and 1 of Shan's votes went to Nasir. That's 3.
Okay,
Ricard,
sorry.
1 of Shan's votes, and Nasir voted for Heather. It's 3-3.
For some reason, forgot there was a
No, that's okay. And then they revote, and Nasir goes home in a 3-0 vote because Erica, Shan, and Ricard all voted Nasir. Shan didn't get 2 votes on the revote. Right. So, like, I'm seeing online this is, like, secretly brilliant, but, like, I must be missing something.
I don't get it at all. I don't understand why, if you want Nasir out and you're going to blindside him, you know Nasir's going to vote for Heather.
Yeah.
And so that's your other target
Nasir's
anyways.
a very predictable player.
Why wouldn't you just all vote for Nasir?
So that's one thing, like, okay, even if Nasir plays his idol, Heather's going.
Right.
Like, are we not okay with Heather going? Like, when did this personal connection with Heather happen?
And I know he said something to Shan about why they should use the extra. Did he? I just remember him saying, hey, let's play the extra
there's
vote.
A whole discussion about it, and Shan's like, oh, I will play
I know,
it.
I remember that, but like, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Why waste your extra vote?
And so, hey, if anyone can explain why this was a great play, please let us know, because I've read like a couple of like threads about it, and like, it's just not clicking. Like, I cannot wrap my head around. And it's because it's all based on the storytelling. The storytelling made it clear as day that it's either Heather or Nasir. So I'm like, obviously they had to have done this with the idea of we gotta need to save our own skin, but like, I don't understand how Shan splitting her vote between Heather and Nasir makes it so. I mean, okay, so yeah, because even if Nasir, Erica, and Heather all voted for Shannon Ricard, it wouldn't have made a difference. It'd been 3-2-1.
Right.
I don't know. So anybody, please explain this. Like, how is this
confused.
some secretly brilliant move? If I'm sure it is, and I just can't. And maybe like in a week or so, I'll just wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh, that was brilliant. But right now, I'm just like 2 days later, I'm still like, you tell me. I'm open to learning. I always am. If you can teach me something I didn't know, that's wonderful. So that's pretty much all I have for the main episode. Did you have anything else, Mary?
No, I honestly kind of felt like the whole thing was a little lackluster. Like I was expecting a little bit more with the two tribals and everything.
More drama.
Right. And it just seemed pretty straightforward,
standard, yeah.
Except for Shan's 2 votes, which were confusing. So I don't know. It was just kind of
This episode felt kind of like it was still building up to something.
Sure. We're still building up to some drama.
We're building up because the Shan and Deshaun thing has to come to a head. And it seems like next week that's going to happen. That's definitely what seems like this episode's building up to. So I guess let's jump over to the Rebus puzzle.
Sure.
This week's Rebus puzzle, which will also come with a next week on Survivor hint. So stick around after she tells you the solution to hear what Jeff said is coming up next week.
So the Rebus puzzle was basically like a pile of fruit. So some bananas, grapes, oranges, whatever, fruits, the minus sign, and then some roots of a tree. So fruits minus roots is just the F. Mm-hmm. Then the letter I and a palm tree. So it's literally a palm tree, or if you say it a couple of times fast enough, final 3.
Which is very confusing here in this episode, why that would be the Rebus puzzle.
Right. And I was wondering if this is some like hidden clue also, because we heard a lot from, Xander and Evie got immunity.
But they do these Rebus part of puzzles, the final 3? They don't make them up at the last second. These are planned.
That's true. They are planned.
Like so I'm sure it's just some.
I'm sure they just picked random like popular phrases.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I was like, is this a secret hint? Is somebody obviously somebody we saw tonight was final 3 because only the people left are final 3. But like, I don't know.
It definitely feels more like a Rebus puzzle for the finale. By the way, we're not playing with Rebus puzzles. We enjoyed this part of the show.
Oh yeah,
it's a quick segment during a time we normally just see people walking or swimming. It's not.
I will say that this time it was so felt like it was so far away I couldn't see it.
Yeah, we're like, why would final 3 be in this episode? But
no.
Oh, sorry.
In the shot.
Oh, okay.
The actual Rebus puzzle.
Yeah.
It was at Tribal, I think, as they're walking in. It is still pretty quick. But the shot was so wide.
For those watching the video right now, of course, I'm showing it in very, very, very slow motion. But yeah, even you can see how far away this is. It wasn't like usually they're closer, more centered on the screen or something. But now here it was a little hard to read.
But it was fun.
We had to go on the website to read this one. Mm-hmm. Unlike Learning Curve, I think that was the easiest one this season.
That was the easiest one.
Okay, so let's move on to the TV ratings. Very briefly.
Wait, you didn't let me do the next week.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, what is next time on Survivor?
It was really basic. So the strategy test for next week, which is also a hint for next week, is if you win a reward, do you bring your alliance or do you not bring your alliance? Do you want to solidify those relationships in your alliance, or do you want to make people who are kind of on the outs feel better about it?
So next week we're having, it sounds like a straight up regular reward challenge.
Right.
By the way, that doesn't feel good in terms of I want the auction to come back. And I heard a rumor on the street, and by rumor, I think on Inside Survivor, maybe I read it. For those who wondering, InsideSurvivor.com, they'll give you it doesn't spoil anything about the show, which is what I enjoy. It's just like, hey, like next season, expect this to happen, maybe. Like we've heard rumors. So they rumored that maybe the auction would return, but if they don't do it at Final 8, like when the heck is the auction? Final 7, maybe? I don't know.
Do you think there's no family visit either?
Oh, definitely no family visit.
Yeah.
They might get letters from home or maybe a video from home. That's what I'm thinking if they do that. And that's why I was like, the auction would be perfect. Like letters from home, like classic auction thing to sell. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so let's move on to TV ratings. So as we've mentioned, pretty much from the premiere down to the what I would say the initial episode 6, which is the initial one where Jeff's like, Erica, do you want to smash the hourglass? That episode.
The pre-merge episode.
The pre-merge episode. That all through there, it was like a downhill slope in the ratings. Just every week down. The views just kept dropping. And then from that episode on, it has gone. It went up. First off, this show started at 6,250,000. Eventually dropped all the way down to 5,317,000. By the way, numbers are on screen.
5,300,000.
Sorry, 5 million. Sorry, I'm reading this without all the extra zeros. 5,317,000. So yeah, the numbers on the screen. So then it went up 5,471,000. Then it went 5,556,000. That was last week. This week, Mary, do you think it went up or down from last week?
I have no idea. So 50-50.
Yeah, 50-50.
I say it went down.
Nope, it went up.
Oh, good.
We're up to 5,765,000, which is the fourth best viewership this season out of all the episodes.
Wow.
Literally after episodes 1, 2, and 3. So, hey, at the rate it's going, it could actually keep going up and maybe surpass the premiere, which in other seasons, the premiere is not even like number 1 or number 2 most watched episode. So we'll see. That's all good news. I feel like Survivor, maybe they finally figured out their groove here.
Yeah.
Maybe they've changed some things, or maybe it was just planned like this from the beginning. Who knows? So, all right, let's move on to the Purple Heather edit.
Oh, I thought we weren't doing that.
Oh, I think this might be the last week. So with that, do you have any notes on Heather?
I didn't have any notes on it, except for that it's weird because she kept coming up.
The episode literally started with Shan talking to Heather, and then we saw Heather talking to Nasir later. It's like, this is a lot of Heather content. And then people are all of a sudden screaming online, Heather's going to win! Which, by the way, if she did, would be like the most absurd thing since Natalie White winning in Samoa. So, yeah. Because Natalie White winning kind of made sense. Not that I think it was right, but it made sense in terms of how they just want to focus on Russell. Here it's just like they just want to focus on anyone but Heather. If Heather were to win, I'm saying. So yeah, I think this is last week we're gonna do the Purple Heather, unless of course she gets purpled again. But yeah, through the whole pre-merge, there was like, who was Heather? You know? Right. And then even at the merge, but like last 2-3 episodes, like, oh, I know who Heather is now. And she's not just some woman who cried at a challenge once.
Right.
So yeah, I know Mary and I are making faces. I know that you guys can see this, but I think I hear either a cat outside or something our window, or is that our cats?
No, that is definitely our cats.
Our cats are
scratching at the door.
We had to record in a different room, and our cats are just like, let us in, please. We want to hang out with you.
Yeah, they sound like Rupert for some reason.
Yeah. Our cats look like Rupert. Hey, Laura, I love you. Okay, so let's move on to the winner analysis section. All right, so as we all famously know, at week 5, I locked in Tiffany as my winner. Oops, that was wrong. I had been sussing her since episode 2 or 3, and then I was week 5, I was all right, it's super balanced, an edit she has. I'm locking her in. That was a mistake, as we learned. Yeah. So last week, I changed, I didn't have a choice. Changed my winner to pick to her card. So that's where we stood as of last week. So Mary, you have been way more consistent than I have. Who are your top 2 people to win?
Top 2. I'm trying to remember who I said last week. Didn't I have 3 last week? No, I don't remember.
It should only be, I think you only said 2, but if you said 3, then I forgot.
I think I said I want Nasir to win.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted.
But he wasn't in my.
I wanted. Somebody got me. They're like, hey, don't wish for Xander to win, because everyone you wish to win gets voted out. I'm like, I never said Nasir is going to win. I said I like Nasir, and if he won, that'd be great.
Right.
But I'm not like a hex. I'm not hexing people to get voted out of the game. And if I am, then Ricard's out next, I guess, because you should have been out this week because I said a lot, whatever.
Right. Anyways, I'm still on the Xander train. I think that he can, and I hope that he does, because that would be awesome. If he doesn't, though, I think my number 2, I'm going back to Erica.
Really?
I know I keep bringing her up kind of, and I know she's not.
Remember that one week I brought her up and you were like, that's insane.
Yes.
It was week 4.
It's been the last two or 3 weeks. And I'm not sure why, except that I just feel like if anyone could slip through and not be a target and no one really hates them or whatever.
Her and Heather.
Sure.
Could slip through like that.
Sure. Yeah. Then I don't know. That's just kind of like this feeling I'm getting, is that Erica could do it. She seems to be smart. She seems to be playing well. She seems to be keeping up her relationships. And she's not making any big waves. So I could see her definitely making it to the end and winning.
I will say that the difference between Mary and I, in terms of observing who our winner is Mary, you're definitely looking at it from a perspective of how are they playing the game. And I will say my flaw is I look at way more what is the story telling us.
Yeah, you look at the editing.
I know, and I'm aware. And as someone who makes literally character story videos, it's just my favorite thing about Survivor. I get it. It's a flaw I have. So I am way more invested in what is the storyline. So because I always am like, will the winner have a storyline, and will that storyline be satisfying? Like Tommy was such a boring winner, but he played a great game.
Right.
You know, like I can't knock him. He played an old school game in this era where I didn't think that was possible to win again. So yeah. So I'm going to predict a final four here, but let me tell you who my winner picks are. So I actually am pretty much unchanged. Last week I said I had Deshaun and Liana's like number 2 and 3, like flip flop them. Man, like I don't know if they'd let the winner say I hate Xander's face.
No.
I feel like Sandra had a lot of things, but that's also old school Survivor, and I just don't know if they let the winner like be blatantly hating somebody. So I feel like Liana has the best chance out of every female there. But I feel like with me removing Liana, I can't there's not another female where I feel solid. Like you say Erica, and I can definitely see how Erica or Heather could get to the end, but I can't at this moment. I can't predict the jury. You know, I don't know who they're going to vote for or what their standards are going to be. So I'm just going to say that my two I'm considering the strongest are Deshaun number 2 and Ricard number 1. Deshaun, as we've said all season, like he's been the focus. Even at Blue Tribe, he was like kind of the mouthpiece for them. It's been shown that while he has been wrong in some situations, he is kind of like the head of that whole tribe. And even here, he's still such a major focus in so many ways. It's really gonna come down to who survives the Shan Deshaun showdown. Like if next week Deshaun wins over Shan, then I think Deshaun is a clearer path to the end. Like Shan's really his biggest obstacle, in my opinion. Same for Shan. Shan needs to get rid of Deshaun because that's like her biggest ops, her biggest enemy.
Right.
So Deshaun's my number 2. That doesn't mean I think Deshaun will win, but I do think that if he sits next to the right people, he could win.
Yeah,
if he sits next to Erica and Heather, I think Deshaun could win. So, but my number 1 is Ricard, and man, this week was like last week I was like, I've considered Ricard all season. I feel like he has enough elements there, but this week was like a huge boost to my opinion of Ricard winning the season. Like, not only did we get a whole personal segment and us like being able to relate to his hearing, but he literally has a winner's quote for the first time. Someone has it in 9 episodes.
Right.
So a winner's quote is that's gold. That's like, I mean, it's not always gold, but man, it certainly helps a lot unless you're going to be voted out that episode, which then it becomes ironic. So Ricard, very balanced. We know all about him. We know about his past. We know about his present. You know, we know who we know about him. We know who Ricard is. And we see a lot of his personality and how he interacts with Shan. And then we hear his strategic thoughts. We see that he's not an idiot. We see that when he says this is the right strategic move, it's shown to be the right move. It's not undercut. Not to my recollection. So Ricard has been pretty much, while he's not like a perfect heroic Ben Driebergen winner like Jeff loves. He definitely has a lot of elements going for him in terms of a winner's story, a winner's edit. So Ricard's my number 1. But yeah, I mean, if Nasir had won the season, I'd been like one of the best seasons ever. Great job, Nasir. But yeah, so here's my thoughts on the final 4. And this is just obviously biased in terms of who I think is going to win. But here's my prediction. So the final 4, and it's only because of storytelling so far. If you recall in the pre-merge, Deshaun says, we need to get out Erica, because if we don't get out Erica, she's going to get out me.
Right.
He says that. And also we've had a couple times where Deshaun's not good at making fire, I think. And so I almost feel like thinking about it and seeing where we're at now at final 8 and they're both still there. Either Erica makes some great strategic play to get out Deshaun, because that was very clearly set up in the pre-merge. It wasn't like Danny wasn't like, I need to get out Erica because she's going to get me out. Deshaun said that.
Right.
So does Erica get him out at final 4 fire making? Or is it kind of like an upset where Deshaun gets her out and we were set up for? So I think in the final 3, we can either expect, you said Erica, either Erica or Deshaun. And that's kind of why I have Deshaun in my number 2 spot. Cause I'm like, he's either going to the final 4 and losing at fire, or he's going to the final 4 and then winning at fire. But I definitely feel like now, as we get further along and these two are still here, that man, maybe they really were telling us in the pre-merge, like Erica's going to get out Deshaun via fire, or Deshaun's going to get out Erica, all the time worried that Erica was going to be his downfall. Like maybe it's super close in the fire making competition. Who knows? So
that could be interesting.
I think one of those two are in the final 3. I think Ricard, obviously, because I think he's winning. He's in the final 3. I think Ricard versus Deshaun would be a very interesting showdown for the votes. Because in this case, I'm considering that Shan, Danny, and Leon are all in the jury. I don't think any of them make final 3. I do think the other final 3 person, I'm trying to I'm like, could it be Heather? Because like Heather's just come out of nowhere, and we've seen this a few times in the past where somebody kind of emerges in the merge. Like they weren't a factor at all in the pre-merge. Think Dean from Island of the Idols, but in the merge, all of a sudden they're a factor, and then they do make it to final 3, but they don't win. Could that be Heather? I mean, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I think about like Danny, Liana, and I'm like, but I'm thinking like the makeup of the jury. I feel like if you get anyone from Shan's alliance makes the final 4, unless they flip on the alliance, they're going to get all of that alliance's vote.
Right.
Because they did make the alliance based on the fact they are all feeling connected because of their race. I mean, that's what they said.
Right.
So I feel like because of that, they would vote for each other in the finale.
Unless it's a really bad breakup, and then they would vote for Ricard.
That's what I'm saying. Unless Deshaun really does like flip on them, and they're just like mad at Deshaun, because that's what we're being set up for in the story. So yeah, so my prediction for final 3, I don't have the whole final 3. I know I told you the other day I said it, but I was like, but I'm thinking Ricard and either Deshaun or Erica in the final 3. The third slot, I'm kind of up in the air. Maybe it's Heather. Maybe it's someone else. I don't know. Is Xander makes it? Maybe Xander can go on an immunity run and make it, because if Xander doesn't go on an immunity run, his butt is on the line. He has one idol. He could immunity his way to the end. There have been a few people who have done that, so we'll see. But yeah, that's where I'm at on the winner analysis. Do you have anything else on that segment?
No.
Okay,
sounds pretty good to me.
Well, let's go over to your guys' questions, because you all had some questions this week, and you may be wondering yourself, Wesley, do you already have the questions pulled up like a responsible podcaster? And the answer to that is no. That's why I'm talking right now as I pull them up. So the first question is from Survivor X. Should Deshaun... All right, I'm reading this as they wrote it. Should Deshaun have flipped? I feel like after seeing Nasir voted out, it would open up a door to Deshaun to put his majority alliance at the bottom, which he could then pair up with Xander, Evie, Erica, and Heather and ride it to final 5. I just feel like it's a missed opportunity. I think we kind of discussed this earlier. We were talking about, was this the right time or was it too early? And my conclusion is I do think it's like, you say it's too early. You say it's final 10, it's too early. He's going to be a target for us the game if he does this.
Right, because Nasir, I mean, while technically Nasir was in their alliance, I think everyone knew he was at the bottom of their alliance. He was not someone that was really in their tight 4.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was that much of a shock where he's like, oh, they've already started flipping, I'm going to go ahead. You know what I mean? I didn't see it as being that big of a shock.
He cannot wait any longer than final 8. Like, if he waits any longer, there's too many people. There's so many people he has to flip on and get rid of. There's 3 people. And the bigger question is, if he puts them on the jury, will they vote for him at the end? It's a hard thing to do. So I don't at all think he made the wrong decision. I think he's still probably, he wanted Danny on his side, and Danny wasn't on his side. Because he was like, man, if I at least got one person on my side, I've only PO'd Leon and Shan. That's only 2 people. I can still win the game without their vote. But with Danny, it's like, now it's 3 people. So... All right, next question is, Noah asks, do you think the majority alliance will start to turn on themselves next episode? Like, do you think it will actually happen, or are we just being set up for...
Well, they keep setting it up, and they keep setting it up, and they keep setting it up. So I'm hoping it finally happens, because otherwise I was like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it.
Same.
But it does seem like it is finally going to come to a head, I think.
Yeah, I think they actually do it. Do they actually turn each other? It's all up to Deshaun. Will Deshaun get called out as someone who's potentially flipping and then be like, oh, sorry guys, and like cower back to a corner? Or will Deshaun stand up and be like, screw you all, I'm going with these other 4, and it's gonna be 5 against 3? I don't know, because Ricardo's mad, and that means that Ricard's with the, I mean, he has to be part of the 5, so it's like, we'll see.
I don't see Ricard flipping on Shan.
Shan has an idol and Xander has an idol. Those 2 people I know have idols,
right? And
so an idol could change things up next week.
Yeah,
and Deshaun could be a part of that. He doesn't have an idol, but he could be part of it. Gray Cinnabons asks, why does Liana hate Xander so much? Did I miss something? I think we all missed something. Gray Cinnabons. I have no idea. Apparently there's quite a few people who asked about this. Another person asked, what the heck is going on between Xander and Liana? Same guys.
I mean, I really think it goes back to that fake idol, but There was, we know that there was animosity before. We know that, and we're not sure why that happened, but it just like compounded when he did the whole fake idol.
Definitely didn't help.
And this snarky response and all that. Yeah.
It was funny and great for TV, though.
It was hilarious.
I thank him for that. Jack Hardy asked, do you think Nasir wouldn't have been voted out if he didn't tell Heather and Erica? Do you think Ricard and Shan still would have targeted him had he not said a word to Heather and Erica? Do you think Heather and Erica would have stuck with him?
I think Heather and Erica definitely would have stuck with him because if he hadn't done that, if he had shown himself to be a little bit more compassionate or trustworthy,
he could have been like, hey, Shan and Ricard just told me that they want to vote you, Heather, but I think I want to vote with you guys and get one of them.
It could have turned out differently for sure.
And it would have been an awkward situation with Shan playing an extra vote, but we learned on a revote, Shan only got one vote. Right. So on a revote, they still could have gotten Shan out or Ricard out. So depending on how Idol was played. Trevor asks, would you say Heather's still being purpled?
Nope.
No, I will say this week officially pulls Heather out of the purple zone. She was deeply in it for so long. She was just bathing in purple, but nope, now she's out. She can see red and blue separately now. I'm trying to see if there's any other comments because usually what I do is I put a heart on the comment I want to answer. So if you guys see a heart on your question, that's what that means. It's not because I think your question's like superior. It's just like, oh, that's a good one to discuss. JMaster98 says, and it's not a question, he just says it, Nasir for second chance. Agreed. Yeah, so there's a second chance. Let's put Nasir on the ballot. Justin Pascal asks, why did Xander not play his idol on Evie?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit. I think he just wanted to not
overconfident,
not waste it yet.
Yeah,
and he was pretty confident.
He was very confident. That, I mean, we didn't hear his thoughts about it. Maybe next episode we'll hear, I didn't want to play my idol on Evie because I knew that it would put a big target on me, or maybe he'll, hopefully he explains next episode. They've been doing one thing that they kind of gotten away from, and I'm glad they brought back, is we get back from Tribal, we hear reactions from people about what happened. And I feel like for a few seasons, it kind of like the next episode started and we were at the challenge, and it's like, what? You're telling me nothing happened in between that Tribal and now? So yeah, that's all the questions I have for this week. Do you have anything else, Mary?
No.
Man, we are locking down here. We're down to the final 8, so this season's chugging along. For those who have reached this part of the podcast, we are strongly considering, and by strongly considering, I mean probably are going to podcast about next season of The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
So on a week, Mary likes The Amazing Race. I like The Amazing Race. We're not hardcore super fans, but we like it. We'll watch it and we'll talk about it. So yeah, for those who got that far, there's a little nugget of fun for you. All right, we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.